Hi, my name is Andrew McLaren, and I want to help you make something called a CER card sort using AI. Now, this is an example of one for third grade for this relevant standard. This is an example of what the AI made. It's pretty good. I've got some critiques with it because when I read these cards, some of them had evidence and reasoning on the same card, and I wanted to just kind of clean it up a bit. So you can't just like give AI the standard like this is the standard that we're referring to and the performance expectation. If you're not sure about how to find that information, I have some more videos on my channel about evidence statements and navigating the NGSS. But you can't just say, hey, can you cover the standard for me? Because when it did this, I first didn't like how it was first labeling these things as claim evidence reasoning. I want my students to be able to identify that themselves. So that was my first issue. The second was that it was saying things about their ability to survive because they can't find enough food. Some people might say that's an important thing to just say explicitly for students, but that is reasoning. That's like putting it forward the ideas as to why things are able to survive as opposed to just observations like these things can find more food, these things cannot find very much food. That's a strict line that I think should be clarified for students so they understand the difference between evidence and reasoning. There's a lot of curriculum that say that they kind of are the same thing. That is not the case. I go a lot more in depth into that in my with my middle school students and the videos that I have on CER with that. But the I I did like a lot of information that it put in the cards here. And the instructions are basically figure out the claim, some evidence that goes with that, and some reasoning argument that then can go with that using these card sorts. So it did an okay job mixing these together and formatting them into cards for us. And it gave the suggestion of maybe doing different colors for different cards. I personally would not do that, but different teachers might feel that that is an appropriate thing to scaffold or support the students. Um, it's kind of up to the teacher, right? Originally, it gave me a document that looked like so, and I thought that that was just too small. Like these cards are way too small of font for my own personal preference. So I asked it to give me some with larger um, cards and no CER labels on it. And it was able to do that. But these are the things where it's talking about like the evidence and reasoning together. So I again had to have it give me a different one and it correctly separated the claim and the evidence from each other. So it's the evidence is just observations and the reasoning are more of like these big picture ideas and things that would explain how that evidence connects back to the claim, like larger concepts, if you will. So that was pretty good, but as you saw in that last version, it labeled it claim evidence reasoning again. So be careful with the AI. It's not a person. You can't just trust it to do the thing. You have to look at it more carefully with what your overall goals are. Um, but I asked it to, remove the inferences from the evidence statements, and I asked it to show examples as to what it had done. Here's why I think that that's better. Um, we don't want students to be confusing our ideas with what we're seeing. Those two things need to be separate. So that's just the big picture on CER for me. Most students are able to identify a claim versus things that are evidence of reasoning, but there's a lot of confusion at the middle school level, as well as the elementary school level around these things, and that ends up making it very difficult for people then to clarify it. So it's just something for us to be trying to start as early as possible, helping them understand the difference between things that we can observe and stuff that we're thinking about in terms of that evidence and reasoning. So you can do this with other standards as well. Um, this is just one example of a standard that is appropriate to do this with. If you want to figure out how to find what standards are appropriate, You can actually look up standards using the NGSS website. And these practices that are most relevant for CER are going to be the last three right here. You can highlight that and select a different grade level. Also 3 through 5th grade, you can look at all of the ones that are in that range, and you can see that we've got 4-3 right here, as well as other ones that are fairly closely related, things that a CER might be appropriate for. And you can also make this more closely aligned to a particular curriculum if you're using that. But I thought that this activity it came up with was a nice general topic that could just be like a 1 day short activity. It works pretty well. So yeah, let me know if you've got any other questions. If you need help making these, the AI does a pretty good job. I'm probably going to put a teachers pay teachers packet together and put that up and link that in the description of the video here. But to be honest, I think you could probably make your own more customized to what your needs are. Though if you're just looking for something to use, I will put something together for you to just use here. Because I know we got a lot on our plates, don't we?